I'm Santanna Templeton, and I'm interviewing Valorie Hall. My interview assistant is Catherine Ziegler, and we are doing the interview on Monday, October 9th at 3:35 p.m. in the Ruth Patrick Science Education Center. So we're going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to ask you these questions. When and where were you born?
I was born in Bakersfield, California on November 14th, 1988.
What was it like growing up in Bakersfield, California?
Bakersfield, California is kind of, I like to call it a big Aiken. So it's a bigger city with a lot of people with a real small city mentality. It's kind of, there are nice parts of it, but it's a little rough. So.
Okay. Tell me about your family.
Like my immediate family?
Yeah, your mom, your dad, your siblings, just I guess your close family.
Well, we're a pretty close family. My mom and my dad both worked growing up, so I was always, in daycare or something like that, but my brothers and sisters were all pretty close.
What was it like having I have 4 siblings, so what was it like having 4 siblings?
Well, I didn't grow up with all of them, so my family's it's kind of an odd situation. I was adopted by my grandparents, so my siblings grew up with my biological mother. So I grew up with only one sibling that I had, wrote down on that paper, which is my older brother. He's so much older than me, it was almost like I didn't have a sibling.
So you kind of felt like an only child in a way?
Yeah.
Were you involved in any extracurricular activities during high school?
Yeah, I played soccer, and it's been a while. I played soccer, and that was really it.
Did you have any family that played soccer, or you just wanted to kind of do it?
I grew up playing soccer when I was a kid. My dad put me in soccer when I was 4, and then I just kept playing.
Okay, what was it like at Bakersfield College and Columbia College?
Bakersfield College was the community college. I wasn't really involved too much in it. I just went there to go to school. I took a class here and there. I was working full-time. I couldn't really afford to go to school full-time. Columbia College was an online college, and I went there when I was in the military, and that's where I got my associate's degree. So I wasn't involved in that college at all. It was just going to school online.
Okay.
So.
Where did you work when you were at Bakersfield College?
Subway. I think I worked at Subway for a while. I worked at Walmart for a while. Really anywhere I could get a job. I was really young and just trying to make it through school.
Okay. And what did you receive your degree in?
General studies.
What made you want to do that?
So when I was in the military and I was active duty, I knew that I wanted to be a nurse. I didn't know what school I wanted to go to. So with that being said, it was very hard for me to decide, to figure out what classes I need to take that would go towards a particular nursing program, because each nursing program is so particular in what classes they want you to take. So my advisor was like, just get a degree in general studies, and then that way most of your prereqs will be done. When you decide what university you're going to go to, then you'll have to take, whatever ones you didn't complete to get into the nursing program. So
cool. Okay. How old were you when you enlisted in the Navy?
I think I was 23.
When and where were you inducted?
San Diego in 2013. Yeah.
Okay. Why did you decide to join the Navy?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why I decided to join the Navy. The biggest reason for me was education. Like I said before, I couldn't afford to go to school. I kept trying to go to school, and I would go for like a semester, and then I couldn't go anymore. I'd have to work, I'd have to pay my bills, and it was just too much having to work full-time and going to school. It was just really hard. Also, when I was graduating high school, which was in 2006, I graduated when I was 17. I really wanted to join the Navy, but that was when things were real crazy over there, and my mom wouldn't sign the permission slip. It's basically if you're under 18, a parent has to sign this form. And So she didn't sign it. I didn't go. I ended up, living my life, doing stuff. And then, eventually I got to the point where I had moved out of Bakersfield, was living in LA, barely making ends meet. I mean, I was broke. I couldn't afford to go to school. I couldn't afford my rent. I couldn't afford anything. And, my last option was, I started thinking about, what can I do? And I remember, hey, maybe I should go see what the military has to offer me. And that's what I did.
Besides your mom, was there any of your friends and family who were kind of on the fence about you joining the Navy?
None of my friends wanted me to join the military. At first I wasn't sure if I was going to join the Army or I was going to join the Navy. I knew it was going to be one of those two, but, everybody came to me with a horror story. My sister was having me watch documentaries on, people getting sexually assaulted in the military. Everybody was just ready to tell me not to go to the military. So,
was there anyone in your life who influenced you to go in the Navy?
I have some family members that were in the military, and, they were supportive, but I know it sounds silly, but at the time I was dating a Marine, and he was really the force behind my decision, because I felt like if I was going to listen to anybody about what happened in the military, it should be somebody that was in the military and not somebody that had no idea what was going on in the military. And so he just kind of pushed me and was like, if this is what you want to do, just do it. So.
Okay. How would you describe basic training in Great Lakes, Illinois?
Basic training. Well, I always tell people, looking back on it now, if I could go back, I would totally do it because it was fun. But in the moment, it was not fun. A lot of people go right out of high school, but I went a little bit later, so I had been used to living a life, with my own rules, doing my own thing. And then I get into boot camp, and immediately I'm being yelled at and told what to do. And I would say it was definitely more of a mental struggle than a physical struggle. But, yeah, looking back on it now, I definitely wouldn't mind going back and doing it again because I learned a lot and did a lot of fun things there.
What was it like being so far away from home?
Well, I had already kind of been out on my own. So it was, I think the hardest part was just that there was no communication. So I was used to being away from my family. I was used to being away from, friends that I had grown up with. But not being able to talk to them, that was the hardest part. That was the part that I had to overcome. And it got me down a couple times in boot camp.
Were there any times during boot camp, you were allowed to talk to anyone or no?
So you could write letters. And then there was times where you could go and you could call your family. But I think that only happened, halfway through boot camp. They let you go, and you're in there for 20 minutes. You have a little pay phone, and you get to call your family and tell them, I'm alive, I'm here. And then really you don't get to talk to your family again until the very end when you're getting ready to graduate.
What were some of the challenges you faced during basic training?
The communication thing was one of them. Another thing, I would say I definitely wasn't very used to being around a lot of females. I always kind of grew up and just kind of was one of the guys always. I always got along with guys a lot more. And then here I am stuck in this room with 80 females. And we have to do everything together. We have to shower together. We have to eat together. We have to sleep together. It's, in the same room. That was challenging for me. But also, people telling me what to do and me not having a choice. Me not being able to be I'm not doing that. That was probably one of the harder things because sometimes, you don't want to get down on the ground and do 40 push-ups, but you can't be no, I'm not doing that. So you kind of have to, wrap your mind around that stuff.
What was your drill instructor like?
So in the Navy, we call them RDCs, And I had two. I had a female and a male, and I cannot remember their names. But I had a leadership position in boot camp, which was called yeoman, medical yeoman. So basically, I was responsible for every day going and getting, like, anybody that needed anything medical done, like the list, and coming back. And so I was closer with my RDCs than people who did not have a leadership position. And at first, she was scary. She was real scary. Like, she would yell, she would make fun of us, she would call us names. But as the, 8 weeks went on, I started to realize that she's just a human being just like all of us, and there were a few moments where me and her shared a laugh, but, she would laugh and then be like, Hall, stop making me laugh. We can't be friends. And so, they're just there to intimidate you, make you feel, I don't want to say they want to make you feel crappy, but sometimes they definitely make you feel crappy. Sometimes they make you feel like you're nothing, but that's their job.
How did you handle it whenever they made you feel crappy?
You kind of just have to accept it. Like, at first it's real hard. Like, you kind of want to cry, because somebody's, they're not sitting there calling you names to the point where, you do feel offended, but they're not, like, real bad names, But they'll definitely call you stupid or dumb or kind of, like, twist your words. And at first it was hard, and there would be nights where I'd be like, man, like, I don't know if I really want to do this. But after a while, your mindset just kind of changes. You kind of get used to that way of people talking to you. It becomes kind of the normal. So you just get over it. You move on, and you do what you need to do.
What did you do once basic training was over?
So after basic training was over, I left like the day I finished basic training, and I went to San Antonio to Corps School, which is for corpsmen. I'm a corpsman.
Okay.
So
what's a corpsman?
It's like a medic, but in the
Okay.
Navy we call them corpsmen because it's like the medical corps.
Okay.
So.
All right. How did you reach the rank of an E4 in the Navy?
You have to take tests. You have to, so E1 through E3, you are given. It's just based on time and service. Once you get E4, you're what is called a non-commissioned officer. So you're not like an officer, but you just have a little bit more rank in the Army. I think they're giving it up to E4, but in the Navy, once you hit E4, you have to take an advancement exam, which is, I don't remember how many questions it is. It's a lot of questions over everything that you could possibly need to know in any job that you could do as a corpsman. So it could be like x-ray, laboratory, dental, combat medicine, and then also there's questions on like Navy knowledge, so like on ships and anything really, uniform policies, stuff like that. And you get in there, you take this test, and if you pass it and make a certain percentile, then you get to advance.
Was it hard?
Yeah. So for my rate, we're super overmanned. There's tons of us. So the advancement rate for E3 to E4 was like 7%. And there's other jobs in the Navy that are like 100%. So basically you go in there, you write your name on the test, and you get to advance. It was not that easy for me. It took me a very long time to advance. And I took the test numerous times, and I studied for 6 months every time trying to take this test. And I would get, in the top 90 percentile of all the E3s taking the test, and I wouldn't advance. So it was hard.
What was your job title while serving in the Navy?
It was HM or corpsman. Yeah, HM3 as E4.
What was it like serving in Hawaii and Texas?
So Texas, I was only there for a short period of time. That was when I was in Corps School. So I was there for maybe 6 months, maybe not quite 6 months. Hawaii Hawaii was fun. Hawaii was really fun. I got to do a bunch of stuff on ships. So I was attached to the USS John Paul Jones, which is like a small boy ship. So that wasn't my duty station. I would just go out there when they had underways if they needed an extra. They call them baby docks because I'm not high ranking. So if they needed an extra one, I'd go out there with them. But mostly I was like my permanent duty station was shore duty. So I was in a clinic on a base in Hawaii, and it was fun. I mean, just living in Hawaii was, I would say, more fun than the actual job of being in the military, but it was definitely an experience that I won't forget, and I wish that I could go back to Hawaii like every day.
Did you have like a specific job title like in those different states?
Well, it's still HM.
Okay.
So, but when I got to Hawaii, I was working in dental. Still HM. You know, your job, the rank or the rate does not, your rate does not change. So I was HM, I was working in dental. And then about a year and a half into it, I requested to switch to medical because I didn't like dental. And I felt like I wasn't being used to my full potential in dental. So they moved me to medical. And then that's where I got to go on the ships more because they need more like medical corpsmen on ships, really, especially the ships out there because we didn't have any big ships with actual dental clinics in the ship. They were all smaller, so that was when I got the opportunity to go on the ships.
What was it like being a woman in the Navy?
I know a lot of people who are not in the military think that like it's a lot harder for women in the military. I didn't really notice that it was so much harder. I would say that I felt very empowered to be a female in the military, but there are a lot more women in the military than people think. I wouldn't say that we get any special treatment or that we're looked down on, or I mean, I'm sure there's always a few people that, you know, don't believe that women should be there, but I personally was never attacked or treated differently because I was a woman. So,
when and why did you leave the military?
I left, so my last day of active duty was January 1st, 2017. I'm still a reservist right now. I go to drill once a month. But I left active duty for a lot of reasons. I wanted to be a nurse, and the program that I could apply to in active duty, which was called MESEPS, it's basically like an enlisted to officer program, was super competitive. I had to be a certain rank to even, you know, apply, and I was just like, you know, I'm already, you know, getting into my late 20s, and I just want to graduate. So for me at the time, the best option was to get out, go to nursing school, and then originally I wanted to get back in active duty as an officer. My mind has since changed. But yeah, that was really the main reason why I got out, was because I just wanted to get my education done, and it is impossible to be a full-time student in active duty military.
What did you do when you decided to leave the Navy?
Well, I moved out here to Aiken, South Carolina, and just started going to school. I had everything already set up, so I knew I was getting out. I already had a date, you know, a long time in advance. So I had applied. I had a place out here. You know, my family had moved out to Aiken when I was probably 19. So I came out here, I had a place, I had school already set up, so I moved out here. I think it was December 23rd, Christmas Eve, I think. I came out here last year on Christmas Eve, and then I started school that next semester in January. So it was all really quick.
What was it like transitioning from being in the military to like going to not being in the military?
I would say that is one of the hardest transitions I've ever had to do in my entire life. Even though I didn't join the military straight from high school, like I mentioned before, when you get into boot camp, you know, there's a lot of mental stuff that goes on in boot camp. I think the reason behind it is because they want to kind of break you down from the person that you were before and kind of like build you up as this, sailor or Marine or airman or whatever branch you choose. And you come out of boot camp a completely different person. And then, you're in active duty and you're around people that are all like that. So there are things that are acceptable in the military that are not acceptable at all in the civilian world. For instance, jokes, the way I talk, cursing, stuff like that. In the military, that's very, very common. So then I get out of the military and I'm here. And of course, I'm in like the Bible Belt of, America, I guess, And I'm having to reteach myself how to talk to people, because a lot of times I would talk to people and in my head I'm not being rude. I'm just talking to them. But still to this day, people say that I will come off as rude because just everything about being in the military is so different. So it took me a long time to get to the point where I felt like I was able to communicate with people. And still to this day, almost a year later, I'm still trying to learn how to come off as not so harsh or not so rude. And sometimes think about the jokes and the phrases that I say before I say them, because people might get offended. So.
What semester and year did you enroll at USC Aiken?
So I started this year in 2017 spring semester. I was considered a sophomore already. So.
How did you hear about USC Aiken?
My parents told me, because like I said, they moved out here when I was, I'm going to say 19. I'm pretty sure it was 19. It was somewhere around there. But when I was getting out of the Navy, I talked to my mom and was like, I want to go to school. And that's one of the things she told me was that, USCA had a nursing program. It was a really good nursing program. And they also had a really good student veterans organization. So I started doing my research and, this was, what she was saying was true. So that's why I ended up coming out here.
So what was your deciding factor in coming here?
Really the fact that I had family out here that I could get back on my feet, and also that they had such a good nursing program.
Okay. What is your major?
Nursing.
Why did you choose nursing as your major?
Well, growing up, I wanted to be a vet. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, I always wanted to be a vet. And then when I, graduated high school and wasn't really able to go to college until I joined the military, I kind of veered away from that. And once I got into the military and they were talking about, what kind of jobs do you want, and I said corpsman, and I went to school to be a corpsman, it just kind of confirmed that, I just find passion in the medical field. As a corpsman, I felt, obviously there were tough days, but I really felt like I didn't really work a day in my life as far as like the medical work. Like I loved it. It just fascinated me. So I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Was there anyone who inspired you to become a nurse?
No one in particular. I've worked with a lot of really good nurse practitioners. I would say one that sticks out, her name is Lieutenant Commander Bryant, and I worked with her directly. She was a nurse practitioner at when I worked in Hawaii in the Navy. And she, I've worked with nurses, nurse practitioners, doctors, physician's assistants, and nurses are always the most caring people that I have worked with. People just respect their nurse. I don't know how to say it. Maybe it's just, the type of people that go into nursing are have a little more empathy maybe than other people. But she just really inspired me in the way that she worked and the way that she was able to talk to people, and just how passionate she was about her job. It really kind of confirmed to me that I could see myself doing that in the future.
How long did you work with her?
A little more than a year. I'd say probably about a year and a half.
Do you think it was hard adjusting, to being a college student from being in the military?
Yes and no. And I was older when I joined the military, so I was kind of used to being around younger people, and then I was definitely older when I came to college. So I'm kind of used to being around younger people, so, that part was all right adjusting to. I think the hardest part really was I wasn't really prepared for how much extra time is required. Like, okay, how do I word this? As a student, you go to school and you spend these hours in school, right? And that's like your job. You're there. And I knew, I was like, okay, I'm going to have homework, obviously. But I just had no idea, like, how many hours are required to make good grades, especially as a nursing student, where I'm being told you need to make A's and B's or you're not going to get in this program. So that was kind of a weird adjustment to me. Like, not, at least in the military, you go to work, it's real crappy all day, with the, what you deal with or whatever your job is, and then you go home and you don't got to think about it for the rest of the night. So that was probably the biggest adjustment.
Do you think choosing USC Aiken was a great choice since you are a student veteran?
Yeah, I love USCA, especially, the Veterans Center they do a really good job. I even worked there for a little bit. So all last semester and a little bit over the summer, I worked in the VMSS. So I can say firsthand, they care about their veteran students. They take really good care of them. And just USCA overall as a school is probably the favorite college that I've gone to out of, the few that I have gone to. The professors are, for the most part, willing to help you. I think I've only had maybe one that was kind of weird about it, but most of them are willing to, not only help you during their office hours, but during, they'll make time for you to make sure you pass their class. And I know I have friends who have gone to bigger universities, and their professors don't do that for them. So I really, appreciate that in a school.
What is your favorite part about being here at USC Aiken?
My favorite part, I think most recently, has been my sorority. I love being in my sorority. It's given me a lot of friends and also helped me kind of come out of that, military shell. Like I was saying, it was hard for me to learn to communicate with people properly. And since I've joined my sorority, I've definitely been able to do that more. And just being around the girls has made my transition easier. So, I love that part of USCA.
Can you tell me about your present family or your current family?
Like, that live here?
Yeah.
Well, it's just my mom and my dad and my brother, so, they live, what do you want to know?
Just, hold on, I'm trying to think. Like, what's your family like now, since you're kind of out of the military, you're in college, you're kind of on your own?
I thought that they would be different after being out of the house for like 10 years, but then I came back and it was almost like the same, like we were fighting over the same things. My mom was cooking the same meals that she cooked when I was in high school. Like, it didn't really change, I would say, other than the fact that me and my parents have a lot better relationship than when I was a kid. My brother still lives at home, so there's really nothing much has changed.
What do you do when you're not studying or in class?
Well, I have a dog, and I love to take him out. I love to do really anything that is outdoors. So, I like to get out of Aiken, for sure. I will take every opportunity that I can get, even if it's just to go to Augusta or go to Atlanta or, somewhere close. I just like to travel, and I feel sometimes a little suffocated in Aiken, so that's what I like to do, is just get out of here.
What's your favorite place, I guess, close to here?
So far out here, I don't know. I haven't been a lot of places around here, but I would probably say Atlanta. Atlanta's pretty fun. There are some things I don't like about Atlanta, but there's a lot to do in Atlanta, and in that aspect, I like it.
Okay, you stated that you wanted to move back to the West Coast and get a master's degree. Why do you want to move back to the West Coast, and what do you want to get your master's degree in?
Well, I want to move back to the West Coast because that's where I'm from. I feel happy in the West Coast. The South has been a very interesting experience for me. I've met a lot of cool people in the South, but that's where I grew up. That's where everything that I learned, the person that I am, like it all came from the West Coast. So that's where I want to go back to, and I just think it's prettier over there. There's a lot more to do over there. All my friends are over there, and I want to eventually be a nurse practitioner. So, we'd be going back to school for nursing again.
What's the biggest difference in like here in the West Coast?
Well, definitely the fact that religion is really pushed out here. There's I'm not going to knock anybody for their religion, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but definitely on the West Coast, people, they're not so crazy about it, like out here, there's a church on every corner. It's not like that out there. I would say, that's the main thing. That's one of the main differences. Really, as far as the people go, people really generally are the same everywhere you go. You just got to find the group of people that you can fit in with,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Hopefully, I'm a nurse practitioner. That question's really weird for me because just, in my life experience, when I've said this is where I see myself in 10 years, usually you're not where you see yourself, 10 years prior, you wanted to be here and you're usually not. Some people are, but I just kind of like to take life day by day and see what happens. I try not to put too much emphasis on where I'll be in 10 years. As long as I'm doing what I want to do and what makes me happy every day, then I feel like I'll at least be somewhere good in 10 years.
As a future nurse practitioner, do you have like a dream job maybe, like a place you'd want to?
I have not thought that far. I'm just trying to make it through nursing school right now, so we'll see after.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add before we finish up our interview?
No.
All right. Well, thank you for your time and your service. I really appreciate it a lot.
Oh, no problem.